Welcome to Beauty and the Biz. Discover how to grow your practice with effective cosmetic patient attraction, conversion, and retention advice from author, speaker, trainer, and cosmetic practice business and marketing coach, Catherine Maley, MBA.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, and consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. And on this episode, I wanted to talk about the recent presentation I gave at the American Academy of Cosmetic Surgeons virtual annual meeting. I've done a couple of these virtual meetings, and I think they're okay. I mean, they're certainly better than nothing. But I'll tell you what's missing is just the real human interaction, because I'm sure, just like you, I learned so much more in the hallway talks and hanging around at lunchtime, or just milling around and networking with other people and building relationships face to face for a lifetime. That's the part that I'm missing, because on the virtual, of course, there are always technological glitches as well. My talk, which I'll talk about on some other episode, I did something like follow the numbers or know your numbers, and I thought it was really good, but not many people attend. I don't even know if they're attending, if they're actually watching. And it's just not the same thing. So I certainly hope we go back to real life here pretty soon. But anyway, the point of the episode is I sat in on a presentation given by Jason Gilmore. He's a senior VP at Allergan, and he gave this really excellent talk, and it was entitled "A Year of Struggle: What 2020 Taught Me About Aesthetics and What to Do About It." So I took a bunch of notes, and I'm going to give you some of the highlights here that I took away that I thought would be really important for you to consider. So he started with some interesting stats that he gathered in 2018. And here they are. While 65 million people in the US would consider facial injectables, only 4 million have been treated. That's only 6% of the market. So the room for growth is huge for Botox and fillers. And the international market was even bigger. Now, he said the demand for Botox has recovered and it's increased a lot since COVID. However, as you probably know, Allergan spent a ton of money on marketing to increase sales because COVID just wiped everyone out. But Allergan wasn't sure if this increase was actually the regular patient base just coming back for more, or if they were new patients now wanting injectables. So they were happy to learn these stats. 22% of Botox in Q3 of 2020 were patients that were new to the brand of Botox. And 37% of Juvederm in Q3 of 2020 were patients new to the brand of Juvederm. So the demand for these injectables is likely due, obviously, to the fact that patients can't spend on travel and restaurants, so they instead spend their disposable income on cosmetic rejuvenation. Makes sense though, right? So if you're a surgeon, you may be saying, why do I care about injectables? And I will say, for lots of reasons. If you develop trust with the patient early on, they're much more likely to stay for surgery, because it's the trust factor that they're looking for. So if they get to know you with injectables, it's just an obvious path to surgery. And a lot of people, they may not want surgery right now, but they want a little something, something. So, or maybe they want surgery now, but then they want non surgical later to keep up their new look. And I do know, because I am one of these patients, the cosmetic patient, they'll go up and down the ladder of endless needs. It's amazing, especially we females. Golly, we fix one body part and then we go on to the next thing that bothers us, and it's just never ending, especially with the relentless aging process, and also the social trends. Cosmetic rejuvenation has become mainstream for all sorts of reasons. Social media is a huge one. It's taken the stigma away. A lot of people now are willing to share anything about their lives. So you can't keep saying, "Oh, my patients are private." I don't think you can. I don't think you can say that anymore. Look at Instagram. What's private anymore? I mean, some are, but most are willing to talk about things. Anyway, the longer you keep that patient, This is just so obvious to me. Why go find new patients when you can keep one patient that keeps coming back for more? And it's just adding on revenues, increasing their lifetime value to you. And the longer you keep a patient, the longer they talk about you to their friends. So there's no need to spend every single dime on new patients when word of mouth referrals will get you where you want to go for a whole lot less, as in free. Anyway, so back to Jason's talk. After he gave the stats, he said, so why isn't Allergan growing bigger than before? If there's only 6% of the marketplace, actually doing this, but they want to get injectables, why aren't they? So he was wondering if 65 million consumers are interested, and he knows because they are searching like crazy on the internet for Botox and fillers, but then they don't get treated. He says there's obviously some fundamental problem, and actually, there are two fundamental problems. So, one is lead conversion. So their stats show, here we are with the six again, only 6 out of 100 phone calls are converted. Isn't that amazing? And the best practices in the country only convert 18 out of 100. And I can actually vouch for this because we do mystery shopping for practices and always have for the last 20 years. It's amazing what receptionists are saying or not saying. Several practices have receptionists set up to be the patient deterrent system rather than the patient attraction system. And that's a whole other story, but this is really true. Even the best are only converting 18 out of 100. Well, then the obvious question is, well, why is that? And he was saying the response time is crucial, of course. So you need to answer your phones and your online inquiries. You have got to figure that out. I've made too many phone calls. Just as an aside, you have these extreme phone tree set up or answering machine set up, or you have someone at some service answering the phone and they have no idea what's going on. You really want to understand the experience the patient has when contacting your office. It's remarkable that honestly, if you just fix your phones half the time, that's like 80% of the problem. Anyway, so the response time was crucial, and it has to, so the phones, you have to figure out how to answer inquiries and phone calls immediately with a friendly human being, and they need to be well trained so they know how to bond and convert callers. And then the other big problem affecting your revenues and allergens is problem number two, patient retention. So Jason's team reported that 50% of injectable patients never come back, and that continues to decrease. So why don't they come back? And he said, and it's so true, in your mind, all of your patients come back because those are the patients you remember. The ones that don't come back, you don't know and you don't remember. So that's skewing your perception. So you don't focus on this part of your practice as an issue to address. This is so true. I say this all the time. I'll say to like I'm consulting with a practice and they'll have a database of 2,000 patients. And I say, so what's your retention rate? Or, let's talk about retention. Oh, no, we have our patients love us. They always come back. They honestly, I've never seen more than 100 as the retention. Well, what happened to the other 1,900 that are in your patient database? Trust me, they don't come back. Most do not come back. That's crazy. Anyway, the driver to patient retention is the practice experience. It's not the function or the result of the injectables the patients get because they already assume that. It's the emotional job that's not being handled correctly, so patients continue to leave to find another practice that they feel good about visiting. And here's the secret. It's the practice that makes the patient feel good when they visit. So please take a look at that patient visit. So back to Jason. So he says, so what do you do? And so he wrapped it up with two action items. So the first one was to obviously fix your front desk. So he said, before you spend any dollar, even a dollar, understand your most valuable marketing channel is your front desk. It's the most valuable ROI channel you have. So the interaction with new prospective patients on that first phone call has everything to do with that patient choosing you or not. So it's their first exposure to your practice. So make sure it's up to par. And patients don't pick up that phone lightly. That's a big step. So your front desk needs empathy and the emotional elements are needed. So, for example, He said, like, your receptionist can tell the caller, I've had Botox, to make the caller more comfortable to come in and learn more. Okay, and then here was his next one. He said, number 2 is to advertise. Now, Jason recommended paid ads on Google, Instagram, and Facebook, and he suggested paying for clicks or impressions and then testing it first. He also wants you to be authentic in your advertising so patients feel a connection to you so they're more apt to call your office. And then your office front desk is on their game and they emotionally bond and connect, and the patient books. So here's my feedback on Jason's Allergan presentation. Fix your phones, I totally agree with. I've touted this for years to get your phones right since so much money is lost at this stage because your front desk really does need to be professionally trained to bond with the caller, credential you as the best choice, and ask for the appointment. Most of the time, nobody asks. And I'll give you a hint for the receptionist. She is not the information booth, she is the control tower to get to the rest of the team to actually get to meet you. So she's not there to answer endless questions. She's there to ask for the appointment. So if you need any help with that, please have your receptionist join my converting club for receptionists. It's actually quite common for phone conversions to increase by 30% within 48 hours when they have the right structure and scripts. Now, here's the one I don't agree with, and that is paid advertising. And here's my take on paid advertising for injectables. Non-surgical injectables, they have been commoditized. I mean, I think we all know that. It's way too competitive and too expensive to advertise services so many others can do and will do for a lower price. That's the part that bugs me about that. So not only will you spend or waste a fortune on advertising injectables, you'll also be forced to lead with price specials to get the attention you want. So that's a double whammy on your profits. Because if you think about it, if you're going to advertise injectables and you only have a very limited space to do that, what are you going to say? I mean, other than price, how are you going to differentiate? Because nobody knows you. They don't know your techniques unless you have killer before and after photos. But you know what's wrong with that? The advertising, the social media platforms and all of them, they barely let you use before and afters anymore. So I just don't see how you're going to advertise injectables. A much cheaper and more effective approach is to thank your current patients for their loyalty. So they return, refer, review, and share you on social without discounting your prices. So if that sounds interesting, please check out my KISS loyalty system. It's really killer for injectables and non-surgical procedures. And you can find it in the Converting Club on my website, catherinemaley.com, and it's under services. Okay, so that wraps that up. I hope you found that interesting. And if you would, please subscribe to Beauty in the Biz. And I'd love a great review if you feel so inclined. And then if you've got any questions or feedback, of course, you can always leave a question at my website, catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me at Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.
We hope you found valuable insight on this episode of Beauty in the Biz. For more episodes, tools, and Catherine's free book, visit www.catherinemaley.com. That's www.catherinemaley.com. And be sure to subscribe to get the latest practice building strategies delivered to you. And don't forget to share this Beauty in the Biz podcast with your staff and colleagues.